like how you were getting into that, like right off the bat. I'm gonna say that. Like,
it's hard not to. It's a groovy track.
absolutely. Well, what's up, guys? We're gonna get a little funky tonight, and there's a good reason for that. Episode 9 of the DrumQuig Podcast, now a proud member of the Geek Network Podcast Syndicate. You guys will be able to check that out later, but I've got a very special guest in front of me, and it's very special because this is a band I've been listening to for years and years, and then getting to meet our guest on the show just a couple months ago, and now here you are on the podcast. So the one and only Alex Gator Petropoulos. How we doing, man?
Hey, man. Thanks so much for having me, Matt. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, like the show opener started, Pigeons playing ping pong, the Infinity Tribe, but man, let's just talk about you. Like, what's it like to be a musician nowadays, playing in 2 different bands and doing what you do? Like, look at you.
I'm surrounded by it. Nah, I appreciate it. Super fortunate, super blessed. I got put in a great situation where, I'm originally from New Hampshire, small town, and through playing my whole life and playing with other great musicians and meeting great people, it led me to, moving down to Maryland to be with the Pigeon guys, which was crazy how that was almost 10 years ago. And, as we've grown and kind of, continued our lives down here, we always are rehearsing and working on new stuff, but we always allow each other avenues here and there and to kind of experiment with new things. And the Infinity Tribe's kind of been like a new side baby for the last couple of years. And we just put out our second release called Flux, and Pigeons, just released their new record Day and Time. So I've been keeping busy and, trying my best to, stay creative and keep growing as a musician. And I couldn't ask for better musicians to play with. So it's been a blast.
No, and I mean, that's the whole idea. And anybody watching this, pause it right now. Go find Pigeons playing ping pong. Go find the Infinity Tribe. Go follow them. Go listen to them. It's just,
Thanks.
It's such a refreshing collection of music. I couldn't even think of the right word to say because it's so methodical, but at the same time, like when I saw you guys in February, I think you played 6 songs and it was an hour and a half, and there was like a 30-minute jam in the middle, and there was Cashmere, and it was amazing. And like
no, thank you.
How did you get to this point? You said you were fortunate, and I know, we just talked about it right before, coming into the band after Dan had left. Like, what's it been like for almost 10 years now of being a part of this, amazing, incredible band?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to even kind of summarize it just because, it's been the full progression. It's when I joined, they were already had good momentum going, and I could tell, people could tell that this was something that was taking off and going to continue to grow, which really, helped my decision. And but at the same time, when I started, it was still very much, the renegade days, I call it, where, we're doing everything on our own. And, at the end of the night, we're breaking up to kind of try to go find places for us to crash and make sure we can fit the trailer in the driveway. And most of the time when you get to those places, it's just a tile floor and a blow up mattress and, people everywhere. So it's one of those things where it's, in hindsight, you're like, what the hell? How could we have done that? But when you're doing it, it's the memories it created. And, it's been such a fun grind and to be able to continue it. And, we've worked hard because as it's a very, positive, happy go lucky for the most part. I think our recent songwriting's changed a little bit, but it's a very positive, happy environment. But we're still, really making sure we're working all the time at it and progressing. And, we've gotten lucky that over the years, the venues have grown and the shows have grown, and just being a part of that ride and being part of that progression is, it's been amazing. And just meeting the people along the way, some of the fans that you meet those first years, like yourself, just from way back from when I joined, even, a lot of them are the same people you see at shows now, and they've grown with the band. And then meeting new fans and seeing new faces at shows too, it's like just as nice. So the kind of back and forth between the fans and, being able to just go out and play live music and share those moments. Yeah, it's been special.
And you're right. It's everything's uplifting, and I think as a band, you don't. Not a lot of bands, they don't grow with the band. The band will do something, and they'll be like, I don't like what's going on there. And I feel like every album has been different, but has stayed true to who you guys are. Like you said, the upbeat, the writing changed a little bit this time around, but I also think that like Fall in Place, like the crowd getting into a song like that for people who've heard it like once or twice when you guys were playing it, was
Yeah.
kind of amazing. And then to see the reel that came out, I think in the last week, where basically you guys had shot the video in St. Pete where I saw you. So I was like,
Yeah.
I saw you walking down the street in the video, and I was like, wait, oh.
That's so funny. A lot of people picked up on that. A lot of the comments were like, "Oh, St. Pete, St. Pete."
What was the
But
decision?
that's a great. I mean,
Like,
it's a good comment you made in the sense of how like bands change and albums change. Just because, and that's a tough thing for bands, because as artists and musicians, you're always growing. You're always growing. Your ears changing a little. You might want to try new things, but you also have those hardcore fans, for a reason, for kind of a lot of the case for what you originally brought to the table. So it's finding that fine line of like, growing creatively and trying new things, but also, staying true to yourself. So it's fun. It can be tough because, you don't know if the fans are going to like like you said, there's not a massive direction switch at all, but when there is slightly different style of songwriting, then, it is nice knowing that the fans can relate to just the artists kind of trying new things. And, we still make sure to play all the old tunes and the full progression of our years live because we love all the tunes. So,
and I think
yeah.
that was pretty true. And like you said, saying true was the kind of the topic there of playing the older songs. And that's got to be one of those big struggles when you're making the set list of going, okay, who's going to be upset that we didn't play this or this, or like who's going to be upset about this. But at the same time, the energy that I felt in that crowd, like over the years, thousands of concerts, that I've gone to. I'd like to say thousands, probably not that many, but still a lot. But the
Yeah.
energy, like, there's no negativity in that crowd. There's nothing, everybody's just like buddying up to people. They're getting as close to you guys as they can. And it was just such a
I love it.
relaxing vibe where you're right, the the songwriting just carries itself and just creates that environment for everybody.
Well, thank you.
I like it when I go off on a tangent and I had no idea where that was
No,
going, but we'll take it.
I loved it. It was great.
We talked about, the origins, so I kind of wanted to see like where you started, like what got you into drums and what's kept you in drums because you see so many people kind of fade away and kind of lose
Yeah.
interest. So like what got you started?
So when I was 5, same with my brother, same with my sister, is kind of around the age of when, our parents kind of gave us, the ability to try, music or sport and kind of start to kind of figure out what we kind of liked and kind of where our creativity was taking us. And I kind of randomly just picked drums. Kind of, I think I was a known thing that I was kind of just very always banging on stuff as a little kid. And, my brother started with piano and eventually moved to a bunch of other instruments. He's an amazing musician. He's taught me most of what I know. And, he's able to jump around. I always just was locked in from the start with drums. And when I was 5 years old, I started taking lessons up in town, and I'm still close with that teacher that I had. Great teacher, Jeff Harrington. He's the man.
That's awesome. Shout
Um,
out Jeff.
I know. I cried and ran out of the room at my first drum recital. Refused to go on stage. Parents, family still bring it up to this day. So no, that did happen though.
It's
But
good.
no,
No, that did happen. That does happen.
and my brother was a great musician too. We even met a great local guitarist who was like, by the time I was 9 years old. My brother was 11. We had a little blues band called Hurricane, and we were playing local shows. Like, my parents were getting us gigs at like these blues bars, and the venue would not know that we're like 10 years old, and we would show up and they'd be like, no, like, this isn't real. And then we'd play and we'd actually do pretty good. And, it continued from there. Played throughout high school in bands and college, and it was always just my big passion. I had great teachers. I studied with a great teacher, Dave DeCenzo, through high school, who's a world-class drummer. He's played with a lot of musicians that I'm sure, the listeners, if they looked it up, would know most of them. And he's also a head professor at Berklee College of Music. And so he's a very prolific teacher. And so I was surrounded by great instructors, and I had a great passion for it. Continued to study through school, and after college I kind of had a decision to make, because I was playing regular shows with my college band. My friends Ari Lesser, my brother Chris Petropoulos, we were in a group called Lifted, in Pure Motion, and we continued to play in New York City, throughout Connecticut and New England, but it was never like a full-on gig. So one of the shows was opening for Pigeons, and that was kind of when they were still getting their going. And years went by. Dan, their original guitarist, moved on to a different career path. Was not a bad break at all. He was very helpful in the transition. But they went on to audition guys. Jeremy called me when I was at work, and I just kind of decided to settle down and kind of thought maybe go with kind of a normal job route. And I did enjoy my job. But kind of right when I got settled with that is when Jeremy called and said, "Hey, would you want to audition for the band potentially?" And pretty much right away I was like, "Yeah."
That made the decision.
Called my parents. Yeah. They were like, "Yeah, you should definitely do that." Did a few auditions and worked hard, and it worked out. And moved down to Maryland, and right away got started with them the next couple weeks after I got a spot, and we just kind of took off from there. And it hasn't stopped. And it's in the passion. Passion hasn't stopped. All of us in the band, we're always continuing to play, get together, and even individually, we're always working. I'm at my practice studio now because I was just working on stuff with another local drummer, Nate Shulkin, who's a great player. And so it's a wonderful thing that you get to continue my passion and live this life, and I make sure that before anything, I just don't make sure not to take it for granted. And that's why I'm always working my hardest, and putting in those late nights and putting in those practice hours, because when you get putting in such a a great position, the one thing you don't want to do is take it for granted and let it pass. You always got to continue to keep pushing and get better. And so it's been great.
It's crazy because you got to that point and you were like, all right, do I go left or do I go right? And Jeremy, he's like, hey, you're going to go this way, but do you want to come this way? Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, it worked out though. I don't have any regrets. It's been amazing.
I mean, it's just an incredible story. So what I was telling you before, we talked about going way back. So I live in Palm Harbor, which no one knows where that is. It's just south of Tarpon Springs. It's just north of Clearwater, if that helps anybody.
My grandparents actually lived in Tarpon Springs for a little while.
So
I know.
Dude, my head just exploded. So
small.
I was at Dunedin Brewery last night. I was talking to one of the guys there, John Diddy. I'm going to give you a shout out. And we had a chess night because we're nerds, and we got to play chess, something that's starting up at the brewery. And we started talking about Pigeons, and he's like, "Oh yeah, they played here." I went, "What?" Like April 3rd, 2014. Found it, and it blew my mind that you guys were literally in the backyard, like right around the corner, and I didn't have a clue.
I think we even stayed in that old little apartment that they have behind it. I remember sitting in that front yard having a beer after the show.
Oh my god!
Oh, man. Dunedin, that, yeah, legendary stuff. I'm more shocked that we even fit our show in there, because we played on the inside too.
Yeah. Well, now it's
Which,
expanded, but even then, like
oh sure, yeah,
after
this was
being
8
at
years ago.
the two Janice shows and seeing like what like just packed,
Yeah.
packed.
Man,
Whether it's
it's
cold, it's
awesome.
hot, it rains, like it does not matter. People are not missing that show, and I'm one of those people. And everybody who's watched the show before, you can all say like this poster's always been here. I didn't just put it up for this show. But these guys are people I look up to in the music because of the fact that you guys just bring like that positivity and like that. Just none of you ever seem bored on stage, and I think that was you talking about everybody's always working on something, everybody's always doing something, and some of the videos you guys have been posting recently about like collaborating with other. Hey, you want to play on something? You want to come on? Like the openness to allow that in, I feel is essential in music, especially in the world we live in now.
Yeah, I completely agree. And collaborations, especially, there's room for everyone in the entertainment music world. There's so much good music out there. It's not like, you need to be worried about, really other people. It's more better just it's better just to bring in guys like Joey Porter and Here Come the Mummy Horns and AC from Talk and Smiley from Main Squeeze, and just it creates a better environment for everyone, and everyone takes care of everyone. It's great.
Well, and what we were talking about before we started, the I don't want to call it the attention span. That seems like it's mean, but the window of a visual connection, we're going to call it, or an auditory connection, is a lot shorter than it used to be. We look at videos where, other than like Joe Rogan doing 4-hour podcasts, like shows are getting shorter, clips are getting
Yeah.
shorter. What is that like for you guys as musicians? Because you have that smaller window where I think you said it was
Yeah.
15-30 seconds. Like that's your sweet spot of bringing somebody in.
It's a great question. Yeah, and I think you even have less. I think it's like you have the first 3 seconds to really grab someone. But when it transcends into the music world, and even with a live show, it's interesting. It's for the most part, because we see shows of all genre too, and I'll go out and see sit down folk concerts or jazz shows, and I'll go out and see intense metal shows where it's just a mosh pit. So it's, our shows are typically people are kind of moving around and grooving out, which we love. Um, and it's a high like sensory environment. We got the crazy light show. We're very animated ourselves, and that's just how we play. That's just how we naturally are. We happen to make crazy faces when we play, and Greg's running around, Ben's running around, and it's all very natural, and it's so we kind of cultivate kind of a high energy move around show. And it's not to say that we can't bring down and slow things down, but it can be tougher for certain artists. If you are a very high energy act, and the classic case of, we're going to try a new slow one for you, or something, and you can kind of lose your crowd. It's tough because on one hand you want to creatively be able to play what you want to play, but you still got to keep in mind the production of a show as a whole. So I think we try to have a lot of kind of, we call them like the peaks and valleys of shows, and we do try our best to have those chill down moments, because it's very important. If dynamically the whole show volume wise is just up here, it takes away from those epic moments, because they're not as
Epic.
they're not as
They're not as epic.
so while we do you know make sure to have those kind of those low points as well, it's tough because you want to keep the crowd engaged, and keep them all captured. So I think it's definitely a reflection of the style of music. We generally keep it kind of high energy, but it's definitely important for any band of any genre to, when I say dynamically, I mean, work with different volumes and energy levels, and being really high and intense, and being more cool and collected. So you just got to be, it's important to view the show as a whole production, as opposed to just song by song. So that's one thing we try to put importance on.
I got goosebumps through that explanation because that's exactly like I was like, oh, but that's what it should be. Like everything about music is what it is. You have to understand your listener, but not lose yourself to just people pleasing in that sense. And you guys are so aware of the crowd and doing those peaks and valleys and going, okay, and not to specifically point out one instance, but the drum solo that was inserted into the last show that was here in St. Pete. I knew you were a good drummer, man, but that just showed a different level of fun. And I think
Thank
because
you so
you
much.
see some drum solos and it's just people, oh, okay. It's a chance for everybody else to get a break. But I felt like it fit into the show instead of just being a random drum solo that needed to happen. And
Oh man.
I think again, you guys had played a lower song built into it, and the drum solo. I never came back down. Like I never came back down after that. So that
That's all. I much appreciate that. Yeah.
So I know everybody watching this are going to be like, "You're fanboying a little bit," and I'm going to be honest. I am. I have no problem saying it because this is a huge opportunity, and everything you're saying is just everything I wanted to hear. It's the things that you guys are constantly thinking about. So you know, you guys just had the new album come out. I feel like you had like a mixed response by what you were saying earlier, where it was like the lyric, the writing has changed a little bit. Have you guys got like bad feedback on that, or has everybody just been like, "Oh man, I love it"?
Oh no.
That's why I was
No,
like,
I
I
was
was
saying it.
concerned. I was like, "Oh no, no, no."
No, I mean it in a good way. I think it's cool. I think it's amazing how we can kind of, as we've grown and been able to put out more albums, have slightly more of like a style motif to certain records. And there's no doubt some songs are higher energy, a different vibe. I think we kind of cover a lot of ground in our style when it comes to an upbeat dance track or kind of a more slower groovy song, or like an island vibe like Fall in Place that you mentioned. So no, I think if anything, the new record kind of shows kind of that kind of slightly more of a range, in the sense too of kind of like the emotions of the songs. It's we certain tunes like Beneath the Surface and All Right Tonight are a little kind of more like mysterious and kind of like a little more pop. Overtime's a little more not as if you compared it to a song like Liquid, very
Oh
high
man, how do you do
energy
that?
funk. And then Overtime is also funky and happy, but more like kind of a chill pocket. So I think if anything, it's kind of shown kind of a new way of us just kind of working with different kind of, I guess you could say, like emotions or vibes of songs. And it kind of has a progression. The first song is kind of that more upbeat, dancey funkiness, and then All Right Tonight comes back with kind of a slightly like almost darker, mysterious vibe, which I think was kind of newer for us, which I like.
No, and I'll say as somebody who like when the song came out, going from I have it pulled up because I completely blank on all the song names. Like in this moment, I was like, but like
I usually do too. I think I'm surprising
But
myself.
like you go from something like Ocean Flows to Move Like That to Julia, and then you
Yeah.
play Porcupine, which is one of my favorites, hands down. Um, but to go to All Right Tonight needed a couple of listens for me to really appreciate like what you were doing because it was something different. It was a
Yeah.
little bit mellower. It was, but I think that was the perfect, one of the perfect songs to release. I think it came out. It was one of the first ones that came out, and kind of just I felt like we were a boat just kind of drifting along there. Like, and it was taking
Yeah.
us to where we needed to go. And I feel like everything on the album has changed that. So, like, when the pre order came out, I think I sent you a picture. I was like, I got it. I was like, I had to have, the vinyl with the day and the night. Everything you guys did, you're thinking so much about the fans. It's not just,
Uh,
oh, look at us. We put out a new album. Like, I really feel like that's why I appreciate the band as much as I do because I've seen the interactions and I'll tell this story. I probably wasn't going to tell the story, but I came with a poster tube to the show in St. Pete And I made a joke that I was going to throw the poster and a Sharpie up to Alex on the second floor. And he goes, no, I'll come down. And I just kind of stood there for a minute, looked around like, did he say he was coming down? And hang out, and it was just an incredible experience. And like I said, the fanboying is at a different level tonight. But
no, you're good, brother.
I don't care. It's our show.
Yeah, no, and without sounding cliche or cheesy, the moments with the crowd and the fans, and like I love coming out, and so does everyone else. I love coming out and to see people like getting down to the show and just being so supportive, and like how could you not love if someone's like loves your music and is excited about the show and clearly having a positive reaction. I think kind of putting the face to face, it only makes it better, and to be able to kind of really network and make that connection, it takes it to a different level, and it's important. It's always been important for us, whether it's when we first started by playing bars or whether we're playing bigger venues now. We always try to keep that connection and kind of be down to earth with that.
And I think you guys have done a really good job so far, and that's the best part about it, is that again it's fun music. It's one of those things where it's like you go out and I go for walks for work. I just walk and I'm like, all right, Pigeons, I need something, like give me around this corner, give me around, But you guys really do care about everything, and we've kind of stressed that. So I'm gonna kind of ask a little bit of a controversial question there. Is there a show coming up that you're like, man, this is the one, this is something I've really been looking forward to? Not to diminish any other places you've been, but is there something that you're like,
yeah, I mean, every show is amazing, but there's no denying that certain places are definitely special. So we're just about to start like a triple header tour with our good friends Dogs in a Pile and Andy Frasco in the UN, and it's almost going to be almost like a slight traveling small festival. There'll be after parties and there'll be meet and greets and some vendors. So this whole tour is something new for us in general that I'm certainly excited for. And being able to play with two other great established bands allows us to play some slightly bigger stages. The first show of the tour coming up, is Asbury Park Stone Pony Outdoor Stage, which is big for us. And there's so many great venues. There's a couple good festivals too. Northlands Festival is a great festival in New Hampshire, where I'm from, so that's just nostalgic.
Of course.
A bunch of friends and family there. The Caverns is an unreal venue in a cave that we're playing 2 nights at this summer. Really special place, definitely like a bucket lister type venue. Ocean's Calling will be a special festival for us just because it's in our home state of Maryland. And man, like you said, it is hard to pick. It's like getting asked a favorite song. It's like
no,
it's hard to answer because you don't want it to sound like any other song isn't something you want to play. But
exactly.
there's no denying that some certain songs, some places are amazing. So those are definitely a few.
Yeah, the Caverns. When I saw that was announced, I'm like, can I make that show? Like, can I get that? Like,
I know my sister. Yeah, I was just talking to some family today, and they were like, Caverns.
I can't even imagine what that's going to be like. So I hope that's a filmed, definitely a filmed concert there, because everybody needs to see that one.
I would hope we'll get some good footage from that one. Yeah,
absolutely. So you're sitting there with the practice set. I would be behooved if I didn't ask what's behind you. What are you playing? What are we doing tonight? I know you said you were working with another drummer.
I'll give you a little. Nothing too fancy here, just my practice room. I rent a space in downtown Baltimore with my good friend Jacob. And, I got right now, this is a Bill Cardwell CNC kit here. I got an old Rogers kit there so we can do the whole face-to-face double drum action, because who doesn't want 2 drummers blasting in the room? So, no, I'm super fortunate to have a space like this. It's tough with drums, man. Like, you can mute your drums. There's drum pads, and it's all great stuff. But
It's not
to
the same.
really simulate a practice, it's tough when you just live in an apartment or don't have like a self-standing house or studio. So this is kind of my home away from home, and I'll come here either in the morning or at nights or honestly throughout the afternoon, and I'll practice. Sometimes I'll play along to some tunes. I'll brush up songs. We haven't played, shows in a little while just due to schedule and took some time for our families. Jeremy had another beautiful baby. So,
Oh yeah, congrats, sure.
but because of it, when you go a little ways without playing, so we have quite an extensive catalog. So, sometimes I'll just go and run through songs that I'll be like, shoot, we haven't played, Porcupine in a while. So I'll just run through tunes or so. It's been great.
It
I
sounds
had a
like a
good
hard life
session
there,
just
man.
before.
It's a hard life. Oh yeah,
Oh man,
I'm gonna go play drums this morning. Probably pop in there this afternoon, do it at night. But the passion is there. You're not doing it because you're forced to, or you're like, oh, I gotta do this. You're like, oh, we haven't played that in a while. Like, let me make sure that if that comes up, like, I'm ready for this. So the preparedness
yeah,
is just another aspect of that.
yeah. You got to have that passion. You got to have that preparation. It's just you got to keep moving things forward. Once things just kind of get stale and you think, oh, we're good, we'll be fine, we tour. That's when you see people drop off.
Yeah.
It's like anything in life. If you have a passion and you have a true skill for something, you got to hone it in. It's but it's a lot better when it's something you're truly in love with and passionate about. So I'm very lucky for that.
Of course. So once again, cannot not ask about the nickname here because I'm sure
Yeah.
everybody asks you anyways, and I'm sure it's out there. But I'd love to know the backstory behind that because everybody in the band has nicknames. So let's hear from
Yeah.
Gator. Like,
It's pretty silly. I grew up, small town in New Hampshire. We all had nicknames when we were little kids. People called me Al. Al turned to Alligator. Hey, Alligator. Alligator turned to Gator. Hey, Gator. So it was just kind of one of those childhood names. We had a bunch of kids running around the neighborhood. And it kind of just went away, honestly. And then one of the first years I was with the band, we were amidst a 15-hour van ride where we were just completely delirious and saying nonsense. And I think at one point, in just a lull of silence, I was like, guys, from now on, I want you to call me Gator. And Greg looked at me and was like, that like you can't just joke around about this. If you ask us this, like we're gonna go full on. And I was like, oh yeah, call me Gator. That was my childhood nickname, I'm pretty sure. So it went from kind of just like a joke topic of discussion to it stuck pretty hard. So nothing too crazy, just a little kid nickname.
but that has a fun story to it, and it's on the
Yeah.
like that's something that was just came out of I'm exhausted. You know what? Just call me Gator. Like just call me.
Call me Gator. It's quite prolific, yeah.
I just imagine like that whole van ride, all of you cramped up, and you just being like popping up and being like, "Call me Gator," and then like going back to sleep. Like that's what it felt like to me.
Man.
Like
Some of the stuff that comes out during those long we've had lyrics get written just from us out of silence, just Greg just starting to sing and like us like in the van like passing it around and doing mad libs of like musical mad libs basically, and a lot of nonsense, but some good stuff has come out of it.
I was gonna say, clearly some of the songwriting is there. Like that's
Yeah.
again, that's what people want to hear. They want to hear about this. They don't want to see somebody tucked away in a room, not talking to anybody, and being like, "Guys, I got it. I got it.
Yeah,
Here,
right.
take this." Instead, it's a collaborative effort for everybody, and I just can't get over
Yeah.
Scrambled Greg. I just can't.
He's quite the guy.
But I love that. We talked about nicknames on the last show just because I had another person with the same last name as me who isn't related to us. So there was another Quiggins on the show
Oh wow.
that was not a relative, who was a drummer, who was
Wow.
and like grew up in Kentucky where my dad was,
No way.
And I was like, this is freaking me out. And he goes, and I said, oh, we were adopted. And he goes, oh yeah, me too. And I went, Wait, what? I was like, we're all adopted into this family.
Wow,
It was crazy.
that's crazy. I've yet to meet another drummer, Petropoulos, but he's out there somewhere.
It took everything I had not to make a dad joke there, and I'm gonna hold it back. I'm gonna hold it back. You haven't been to Met? Met what? Met Oh god, I'm sorry.
Hold on.
That was one of those moments where I'm like, I'm either gonna ruin this interview or this is gonna be a great time. And you went for the rim shot, so I think we're doing all right. Man,
yeah, it makes every punchline better.
I want to thank you for being on the show. Like I said, we're going on that wrap up moment. We could talk for hours just because you're a fantastic guy, amazing drummer, and just everything you guys are bringing. So you don't have to, but if you thank the guys for me for everything they do, I love everything.
Man. No, anytime something like this happens, it's beneficial for everyone. It's fun to just spread the love, spread the word, and I will definitely tell them that.
I appreciate it, but I want to give you this moment to kind of tell everybody what you're doing. I know you kind of outlined a lot of the stuff that's coming up, but talk about some of these upcoming shows and where people can find you and everything else, so we make sure that we spread that love right back.
Yeah, no. So, like I said, we're just about to embark on this big kind of triple header tour, starting out and kind of throughout New York, Jersey area, but we're taking it all through the Southeast. Like we're making all our, making our way down, like we said, to the caverns. We got some festivals sprinkled in. Our full list of tour dates are on all our social media. We just released as well as our website. Just released our new album, which we've been talking about day and time. We're super proud of it. Is a lot of hard work went into it. Some new kind of risks we took on trying some new things, and we're always on to the next one and working on more stuff now. And we got plenty of songs in the tank to kind of keep rolling. But like I said, it's all about moving forward. And we rehearse when we're home. We got rehearsal in the morning tomorrow before we leave for tour. So we just love it. And yeah, we appreciate chatting with great guys like you who help spread the word, and appreciate all the support. Yeah,
absolutely. Make sure there's some Florida dates added to that. I know you were just here in February, but everything seems to be kind of up north, so I understand it.
I know,
but
I will say we love playing in Florida. All over. It is unfortunately one of those markets that it's far from home. It doesn't always get hit quite as often as others, but anytime we're there, we always leave very happy.
Listen, you guys basically filmed a music video in St. Pete. I think that gives us like in a whole new sense. So
great town.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Alex, thank you so much. On behalf of myself, Dad, who couldn't be here with us, like I said, I mentioned in the description, I'll kind of throw it out there. Dad's work schedule is a little bit hectic, so we're trying to incorporate that back in. But until we get everything back in situated, we're going to keep the show rolling, keep doing amazing interviews like this. Being a part of the Geek Network Podcast Syndicate, that's something we just announced on the last show. Something kind of big to kind of expand that view set. And I feel like we're all nerds. We're all music nerds in one way or another. And that was a good way to tie it in. And I guess I'll leave you with this. Like, on tour, what's your guilty pleasure? Like, what's something you've got to do has to happen?
My guilty pleasure is probably sweets. I love finding the best ice cream because I'm a giant ice cream guy. Coffee as well, but that's kind of classic. Everyone likes finding a lot of people finding good coffee, but sometimes I'll sneak out the green room after dinner and I'll just go find a great ice cream spot down the street and just go in. But I don't know. I think we definitely love to experience the towns we're in. We might as well, it's such a busy schedule, but any chance we get to walk around, see cool places, see the town, it's awesome. We love making that connection. So,
and as you should. So I don't think they let ice cream into venues, but the next time I see you, I'll try to make sure.
Oh yeah, like, no, just let me know. I'll sneak. I'll find a way.
It's for the band.
I will find a way.
Well, Alex, like I said, on behalf of myself, the DrumQuig Podcast, it was an absolute pleasure to have you tonight. Just thanks, man, and hopefully we get to talk again soon.
Yeah, great to talk to you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, brother. The DrumQuig Podcast is now a proud member of the Geek Network Podcast Syndicate. Check it out, guys. We're really excited to join this family and be a part of this amazing group of people.